Welcome to Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter only stopped being a fort in the 40s, but it has way much more history than that. The first shots of the Civil War were fired here in Fort Sumter. On April 12, 1861, the Confederacy shot at the Union garrison, which is Fort Sumter, being the start of the Civil War. On September 8, 1863, it was the Second Battle of Fort Sumter. The Second Battle of Sumter was a failed attempt by the Union to retake it. The fort was evacuated in 1865 as William Tecumseh Sherman made his march to the sea. Fort Sumter was named after General Thomas Sumter. The fort's construction began in 1829. Fort Sumter was designed to hold 165 men and 135 weapons and artillery. 6 days after South Carolina seceded the Union, Major Anderson abandoned his fort and secretly moved into Fort Sumter. On April 15, 1861, Abraham Lincoln ordered ships coming into Fort Sumter. Now, in 2016, Fort Sumter is used as a museum and also is considered a national park. Alright, thanks for watching! Hello, today we are at Patriots Point, and currently we're right inside of the Yorktown. The Yorktown is a warship named after the Battle of Yorktown during the Revolutionary War. Here is where they ate. This is the vegetable preparation room. This is the Career Aviation Hall of Fame. The Yorktown was built in 1941. The original size of the ship was 800 feet, but after 2 modifications, it is now 824 feet with 6 inches. Its beam is 93 feet and its draft is 23. Its speed was 61 kilometers per hour. The vessel was decommissioned in 1970. It was modernized in the early 50s. The vessel was used during World War II and won 11 battle stars. It served many years in the Pacific, especially during the Vietnam War. The vessel won 5 battle stars during the Vietnam War. She later served as a recovery ship for the Apollo 8 mission. She was also recommissioned too late to be part of the Korean War. Here we are at Middleton Place. Middleton Place is a plantation originally owned by Henry Middleton and then passed down to other generations of the Middletons, like Arthur Middleton, his son. Arthur and Henry Middleton were both considered founding fathers, and the fact that Arthur Middleton was born here makes this place a national landmark. 4 generations of Middletons lived in this house. Wow, the Middleton Place plantation used to be more than 600 acres. William Tecumseh's march to the sea burned a lot of the lands on this plantation. Also, burning down 2 of the houses, including the main house and the east house, especially for parties and entertainment. When their main house was burned down, this was the house that was the least destroyed. So they reconstructed it and made it beautiful and is now a museum. Here is the garden. It took multiple enslaved workers to create this garden. Henry Middleton designed the garden to look like the Versailles Garden.
So to the left of Sumter.
This is the reflecting pool. Animals happily roam the Middleton plantation, as well as reenactors. Here are some of the animals. There are horses, goats, water buffalo, and boars. Also, there are chickens and peacocks. These are some of the tool sheds. Those are some of the stables, and that is the blacksmith area. Here are some of the sheep. Here are some chickens. You can get a good look at the main house. Here's the blacksmith. Here are the stables with all the animals kept. Here's the stable keeper. Here they make pottery. Here are some of the tools that they use to cut, thresh, and winnow the rice. In the 1860s, the Middleton Plantation had 400 cows and 160 sheep. That's a lot. The slaves who helped to crop the rice and to harvest usually worked 10 to 12 hours a day. They chose the coolest times of the day to work, in opposed to 1 through 3 p.m., where it would be the hottest outside. Okay. Here, they use old-fashioned methods of making pottery. As you can see, she uses a manual pot-making circle. And here are some of the things that they used in their everyday household life. Back in the day, people would use porcelain on their dinner tables and thick, very porous clays for their kitchenware. The wealthy Middletons could go out to Charleston and purchase some of the pottery sold from Europe here. But other more modest and humble people, like the Native Americans and slaves, would have to make their own pottery using these methods that she described and showed. Here is where the seamstress would work. The clothing that they wore in the 1800s and late 1700s were very modest, but also very thick, and women would wear corsets and dresses as undergarments. Their clothing was typically very thick and loose. They always liked to wear modesty scarves because their bosom would be pushed up by these corsets. They also wore multiple skirts to enhance their hips, to also enhance the illusion of a tiny, small waist. Some of the wool and already spun wool that they used to make the clothing. Here's some of the cotton. The garments that women wore on top were considered gowns. The most common were bedgowns. Wealthy women would typically wear them between getting dressed and waking up in the morning, but they would not sleep in them, hence the name bedgowns. But the slaves, the slaves and humble people, they would wear the bedgowns just to work out in the fields. They were comfortable and could be layered when it was cold out.